Testing, testing. Okay. Certificate by authority, United States, legally binding by authority vested by the parts of the United States Code 552, Part 1, Code of Regulation Attachment, duly incorporated by the reference, shall be considered legally binding upon all southern residents in the United States of America. Hey, the notice criminal penalties may apply with non-compliance. API 651, Cathodic Protection above ground petroleum storage tanks, Title 49, CFR 195.565, American Petroleum Institute. Cathodic Protection above ground petroleum storage tanks, API recommended practice 651, second edition, November 1997, American Petroleum Institute. Cathodic Protection above ground petroleum storage tanks, manufacturer distribution marketing department, API recommended practice 651, second edition, November 1997. Special notes forward and alright, your scope, reference, publication, definition, corrosion, above ground steel storage tanks, introduction, corrosion mechanisms, stay current, corrosion, corrosion, internal corrosion, termination, need of the cathodic protection, introduction, new above ground storage tanks, existing above ground storage tanks, internal cathodic protection, limitation, external cathodic protection, tank history, foundation, soil condition, introduction, continuous concrete cushion, continuous asphalt cushion, native soil cushion, clean sand, oil sand cushion, contaminated soil cushion, corrosion, limestone, clamshell cushion, other factor affecting cathodic protection, contents tank of the bottom replacement, secondary containment, thick film, internal linings, methods with cathodic protection with corrosion control, introduction, galvanic systems, general advantage with galvanic systems, disadvantage of galvanic systems, impressed current system, general advantage with impressed current system, disadvantage with impressed current system, cathodic protection, rectifiers, impressed current, anodes, design, cathodic protection system, introduction, high influences, replacement, bottom line, secondary containment, the designs, barrier for the cathodic protection tank bottom replacement, conservation 1, secondary containment achieved within the intact area, the replacement and repair with the steel, but tank bottoms effect for the impermeable membrane, secondary containment systems, 7.3, external cathodic protection, introduction, design, conservation, information useful for the design, conservation, influence, selection, type of the cathodic protection system, types of cathodic protection system, electrical isolation, introduction, cathodic protection, criteria for the cathodic protection, introduction, protection, criteria of the measuring techniques, alternative reference, electrodes, installation of the cathodic protection system, introduction, galvanic anode system, the impressed current system, the introduction, shell ground bed installation, deep ground bed installation, rectifier installation, cable installation, corrosion control testing station, test stations, connections by interference currents for the introduction source of the interference currents, constant currents, fluctuating currents, the detection of the interference currents, control of the interference currents, operation and maintenance of the cathodic protection system, introduction, safety, cathodic protection survey, cathodic protection records, and also electrochemical figures, and then I don't do the figures and tables, and then we'll start reading. Protection above ground storage, petroleum storage tanks. The purpose of the recommended practice of the present with the perceive the practice with the effect of the corrosion control with above the ground storage tank with the use of the cathodic protection contained with the provision for the application for the cathodic protection existing new storage tank with the cathodic control method the base for the chemical control of the environment. You the directive codes are not covered in the detail of the intent of the recommended practice. Provided with the information with the specified with the above ground storage tank with the hydrocarbons or with the certain practice for the recommendation. Here it may also be applicable to the tanks and other service intended to service only with the guide of the person interested with the cathodic protection and specific cathodic protection designs are not provided. The design should be developed with the person thoroughly familiar with the cathodic protection practice of the recommended practice designs design specific practice for every situation because of the varied condition with the tank bombs insulated and installed with the glue with its standardization cathodic protection practice reference publications AIP 12B with the specification bolted tank with the storage production liquid 12D with the specification field well the tank with storage protection liquids specification 12F with the specification shop well the tank with storage protection liquids are recommended practice 500 recommended practice classification location electrical installation petroleum facilities recommended practice 575 in this section of the atmospheric low pressure storage tank standard 620 design construction large well the lower pressure storage tank 650 well the tanks of the world storage 650 line above ground petroleum tank with the tank bomb with the standard 653 tank inspection repair alteration reconstruction recommended practice 1615 installation of underground petroleum production storage systems recommended practice 1621 bulk liquid storage stock control of the retail outlets and then recommended practice 650 and 1632 for the cathodic protection underground petroleum storage tank with the piping system. The recommended practice 2003 protection of the ignitions arising out of the static lightning and stray currents. American Society testing material G57 the method of the field measurement and soil resistivity the winner of 4 electrode method of the NACE International 5101 Control Pipeline Corrosion Publication 10A1 A190 Measurement Technical related with the cathode protection underground submerged steel piping systems. Recommended practice 0169 cathode electric control of the external corrosion underground submerged metallic piping system. Recommended practice 0177 the mitigation alternating current with the lighting effect of the metallic structure of the corrosion control system. Recommended practice 0285 control of the external corrosion metallic buried partially buried submergement liquid control storage system. The recommended practice 038588 impress current with the Cathodic protection of the internal submerged surface of the steel water storage tank. With the recommended practice 0572 with the design installation operation maintenance of the impress current with the deep ground bed. Recommended practice 0575 internal cathodic protection system of the oil treating vessels. Recommended practice 0193 with external cathodic protection on grain metallic storage tank bottoms. Technical TPC publication 11 the guide for the Organization Underground Corrosion Control Coordinating Committee, the National Fire Protection Association. 30 flammable combustible liquid code 70 National Electrical Code PEI. Recommended practice 100 recommended practice installation on ground liquid storage systems. And then definitions 3 the definition section with the for the common uses among the practicing corrosion control for the personnel of the many of the case of the interest derivative of the practical the strict scientific definition having been paraphrased. Above ground storage tank with a station containing with greater than 500 barrel capacity with a cylindrical shape that consists of the metallic roof shell and bottom of the support structure with where no more than 90% of the tank volume is above ground, above surface grade. The anoid electrode with the electrochemical cell with oxidation or corrosion occurred by the antonym cathode. Backfill with the material placed in the hole with the fill with the spray with the air roads with the anoids, vent pipe, and can be with components of the cathodic protection system. Anoids can be packaged with a backfill material with the ease of the installation, break pipe, out piping. All piping associated with the transfer of the product in and out of storage tanks. Cathodic, cathode, electrode with the electrochemical cell with the reduction reaction occur with the antonym is anoid. Cathodic protection, the technique for the reduce the corrosion metallic surface by making the entire surface of the cathode electrochemical cell. Coke breezing, a carbonaceous backfilling material continuing bond, a metallic connection that provides with electrical continuity, corrosion, the deterioration material usually metal with the result of the reaction with the environment, current density of the current per unit of the area flowing to or from the metallic surface, the current requirement testing created direct current with the flow with the temporary ground bed with the structure of the protective the determined amount of the current necessary to protect the structure. Deep ground bed, one or more anoids installed vertically the normal depth of 50 feet with the more below the earth surface of the single drilled hole with the purpose of the supplying cathodic protection differential aeration cell, electrochemical cell with the electromotive source, which is due to the difference of the air with the concentration of one electrode compared with the another electrode of the same material electrode isolation condition with the electrically separated with the other metallic structure of the environment. And then 315 would be electrical isolation cell, electrical circuit with electrical current flow with a certain area with the metallic other area through the solution capable with conducting electricity, electrolyte, electrochemical cell with electrochemical specific anoid cathode emerged with electrolyte with this for the created electrical circuit with the anoid and cathode may separate the metal for dissimilar areas of the same metal with the cells include with the electrical circuit with which permit the flow of the electron with the anoid toward the cathode potential for the potential for the electrode measure for the gain for the reference of electrode potential does not include with those any with the resistance law of the potential either electrolyte external circuit with the represent of the reversible work required to move the unit in charge of the electrode surface with the electrolyte the reference of electrolyte a chemical substance containing the ions mitigated with the electrical field for the purpose of the recommended practice electrolyte refer to the soil liquid adjacent to the contact with the bottom of the above ground storage petroleum storage tanks include the moisture of the other chemicals contained therein environment correct with the brittle factor with the normally ductile material with the corrosive effect with the environmental causative factor. External circuit, they consider the wire connectors increase the device for the current source for the etc. That you for the bringing and about with the measuring the desired electrical conditions within electrochemicals over the portion of the cell through the electron travels. Foreign structure into any metallical structure that is not intended to be part of the system either the cathodic protection, galvanic anoids, and metal with the cover the relative to the position of the galvanic series provide this artificial protection. Another metal for the more noble electrical coupled with in electrolyte. These anoids are stored for the current with the one type of the cathodic protection. Galvanic series listed with the metal for the alloys are arranged according to the relative to the potential for the given environment ground. Bed consists of one or more anodes installed below the earth surface for the purpose of supplying cathodic protection. Holiday discontinued with the protective coating with the exposed to the unprotected for the surface of the environment. Impress current with the electrical current supplied with the device employing power source with external to the electrode system and the example of the direct current of the cathodic protection insulating coating system all combined with the protective coating some of the provide with the effect of the electrical isolation of the coded structure of the interference bond of the metallic connection designed with the control of the electrical current interchange between the metallic systems. Higher drop. The voltage generated with the resistance of the electrical current with the corner for the laws of volts over the amps over the ohm for the purpose of the recommended practice for the most significant with the amps over the and the ohms drop of the portion of the structural soul of the potential of the cover the high resistance of the electrolyte between the structure of the reference electrode of the current flow through the anodes of the tank bomb, the isolation electrical isolation line of the scissor device such of the membrane with the install between the storage tank with the tank dike with the containing with the instant exposed product membrane thin continuous sheet with the non-conductive synthetic material with the contained within separated tube with the different environments, oxidation loss of the electron with the constituent tube with the chemical reaction polarization chain with the open circuit potential electrode resistant with the passive with the current and the recommended practice the conservative with the path of the potential with the metallic surface resulting from the passive the current directly from to and from the electrode of the rectifier of the device of the converting of alternating current with the direct current with the using include with the step down AC transformer the silicone selenium stack of the rectifying element meter for the other axis for the U with the cathodic protection the reduction of the gain of the electron constitute with the chemical reaction reference in electrode upon circle with the protection with the concept with the under similar condition with the measurement of the resistance of the device with the electrical circuit with the control of the current flow with the sacrificial anoid is another name of the commonly used the galvanic anoid. Sacrificial protection of the reduction and prevention of the corrosion of the metal with the electrolyte with a galvanically coupling with a mode of more anodic metal. Secondary containment of the device is for the control of the accidental escape of the storage of the product, the meaning of the properly recover the remove of the environment. For the purpose of the recommended practice for the second year of the containment, the refer to the impermeable membrane, shelves, anoid, ground bed with a group of the cathodic protection of with the individually specified spaced and uniformly, typically but air less than 25 below with the ground shot with the conductor known with the electrical resistance through the current flow with the may determine the measurement of the voltage curve with the conductor stationary, something that is permanently installed on the ground of the foundation, stay current with the current flowing with the path of the other intent with the trigger of the state corrosion corrosion result with the direct current flow with the path of the other intended circuit stress corrosion crack with the fracture of the metal with the combined arc with the action with the corrosion with the tensile strength with the fracture of the curve with the tensile strength with the maybe well with the flow with the tensile strength with the either yielding strength with the material structural electrolyte voltage with the structural to soil potential pipe to soil potential with the voltage difference between the metallic structure of the electrolyte which would be the measure for the reference electrode in contact with the electrolyte. Structure voltage is structure with the structure potential for the difference of voltage between the metallic structure with the commonly electrolyte. Tank cushion material immediately adjacent to the exterior steel bind with the above ground storage tank, the tank pad, and know the name of the tank cushion, tank's dead sleeve, electrical conductor, the cable attached for the structural lead with the conventional location, the U with the measurement, the structural electrolyte potential for the other measurements. Test station, small enclosed box like housing with the usual termination point with the one or more test lead, the voltage electromagnetic force for the difference of the electro potential expressed in volts for the zone with the potential water bottom of the water layer with the bottom of the tank cup with the separation of water with the production of the U with the difference ability of specific gravity for corrosion above ground tank storage tank in the direction corrosion is defined with the deterioration of the metal with the result of the reaction of the environment with the corrosion steel strip the electrochemical process of the corrosion process occur with the difference of electrical potential that may exist with the metal surface of the area that must be conducted in contact with the electrolyte with the four components of the air each of the corrosion cell of the anoid cathodic metallic pattern of the connecting with the anoid cathode electrolyte with the roles of each of the component with the corrosion process is followed by the anoid base metal with the gathers into the solution curve with the resulting in low electron with the from positive metal ions from the steel with the anodic reaction of the iron versus iron over the 2E with the cathodic reaction of the tank plate for the electrode relief of the anoid corrosion take place with the cathode 1 cathodic corrosion oxide 2 parts water with the 4 electrons with the 4 oxide hydride hydrogen metallic path provide with the wave of the electron relief of the anoid flow with the cathode electrode contained with the ions conduct for the positive current from the anoid for the cathode ionic movement of the electrolyte contained with the negatively charged air ions called the anoids possibly charged with the ions cations and stressed for the cathode, respectively. Most soil is the most common electrolyte with external surface with the tank bottom with the water sludge generally with the electrolyte for the internal surface. There are many forms of the corrosion. Most of the common type with the relative of the tank bottom with the general pitting with the corrosion, general corrosion for the thousands of microscopic corrosion with the cell of the curves in the air with the metal surface the result of the relatively uniform metal law with the heading of the corrosion for the individual corrosion cell of the larger for the distinct anthoid cathodic area with identified metal loss with in this case the be concentrated with a relatively small area with a substantial area with the surface of the unaffected corrosion. In the figure 1 shows the electrochemical corrosion cell with the steel with the anoid cathodic current flow with the electrolyte and the iron. The composition of metals factor for the determination area of the metal surface with the anoid cathode difference for electrochemical between the adjacent that can result of the uneven distribution alloy elements of the contaminant for the metal structure. The corrosion can also be the cause of the difference between the metal heat effect of its own parent metal. Physical chemical property electrolyte interference with the influence of location for the cathodic protection metal surface. For example, the difference of the oxygen concentration between the air of the steel surface may generate a difference for the for the lower oxygen cell concentration between the anion and the air of the higher oxygen concentration become the cathodic of the cup of the corrosion with the air with the clay with the debris with the contact with the steel bottom tank with the sand cushion where the tank with the set with the two different soil types of soil. See figure 2, the steel tank at the bottom, staying in the cathodic area and anionic area of the corrosion occur with the rock and clay with the makes for the contact with the steel. This show the figure 2 show the accident concentrations of the cup of the rock and clay tank cushion. 415 soil characteristic substantial effect for the type of the corrosion structure of the contact. For example, the dissolve of the cells for the influence of the current carrying the capacity of the soil electrolyte with the help of determine the reaction rate with the anionic area with the moisture with the pH oxygen concentration of the factors interacting in complex fashion interfering influencing the corrosion. 422 corrosion mechanisms. 421 state current with the corrosion. State current is often known as interference current for the travel through the soil of the electrolyte with the structure with the net and temperature usually affect the structure of the interference current for the electrolyte with the surface over the currents of the electrolyte connected to the effect for the structure with the shown figure 3 with the straight current of the may enter for the unprotected tank bottom of the travel through the low resistant path of the metal to the air with the tank of the corrosion with the protected the structure pipeline on location when the current discharges back into the electrolyte with the soil of the point B with the resultant metal off the most commonly potential for the most damage when the steady current with the direct current of the currents generated through the DC electrical power system include electrical railroad subways melting machine with impressed current with the cathodic protection system thermoelectric generates severity with the corrosion with the result of the interference with the current depends on the several factors separation with the interfering with the effect of the structural location of the interfering current source of the magnitude of the density of the current with the quality of the absence of the code with the effect of the structure of the presence of the location mechanical joint type and electrical resistance. Further information related with the proper design of void tray with the currents detection with the control of the tray currents of the corrosion can be found in section 7 and 10. 4, 2, galvanic corrosion. Galvanic corrosion curve with the two metal with the different with the composition the different electrical potential with the over the connect with the electrolyte usually show with the current will flow for the one more active method of the anode less active with the metal with the cathode with the electrode accelerated active with the anode with the example with the galvanic corrosion can occur with the bronze subjected valve with the joint with the corrosion carbon steel pipe with the stainless steel with the copper with the pipe with the connect with the carbon steel tank with the pipe steel with the example the pipe with the cathodic steel tank with its anode because its current take for the path of the least resistant most severe corrosion attack will occur with the area of the steel tank immediately adjacent to the pipe of the shown figure 4 to the extreme of the stuff of the problem is dependent with several of the factors most significant factor the relative to the area with the cathodic anode relative to the addition to material with the galvanic series 4, 2, 3 internal corrosion experience with the reveal with the corrosion with the inside of the surface of the tank bottom with the extent of the nature of the corrosion dependent with the meaning of the factors associated with the composition of fluid in contact with the steel bottom major factors influence severe with the corrosion include with the conductive function with the dissolved solid with the suspended solid with the pH level the dissolved gases with the carbon dioxide with the hydrogen sulfide and oxide the three major corrosion conserve with the general corrosion pitting the corrosion lesser extent with the tank of the environmental crack with further discussion internal mechanism API recommended in practice 652. Further information related to the proper design of void tray with the current with the detection control of the safe current for the corrosion can be found in section 7 and 10. Alright, current collect for the point A, current discharge for the point B with the corrosion occur with the unprotected tank with the protected line, the positive negative rectifier anode bad example the tray current corrosion with the unprotected tank bottom, and then show for the figure 4 with the galvanic corrosion stainless steel copper pipe with the current with the corrosion occur with between the tank bottom and the 5 determination need of the cathodic protection introduction the need of the cathodic protection must be determined in storage for over the section. Discover the parameters must consider the determination whether the steel the above ground storage tank with the bottom of the grares. Cathodic protection is determined with the corrosion occur with the adequate corrosion current the control of the procedure that should be adopted to ensure the metal integrity with the shape of the economical operation service to the life of the tank with the location with the presence of the leak with the detection system alone should not be used to determine the need of the cathodic protection. The decision of the governing with the need of the cathodic protection should be based on the data of the corrosion survey for the operating record for the prior test result of the corrosion surveys operating record for the prior test result of a similar tank system with a similar environmental, national, state, local code for the requirements, recommendation, practices made within this document. 511 new above ground storage tank with the corrosion control of the cathodic protection for the new above ground storage tank should be provided with initial design should be maintained during the service life of the system unless the detailed investigation indicated the cathodic protection is not required. 512 existing above ground storage tank with a study made with a suitable time with the frame with the accordance with the API standard certificate of the considerable person with the possible with the cathodic protection study with the indicator of the corrosion with the state of the economical operation system adequate corrosion control measure that should be used and more 513 with the internal cathodic protection Pure hydrocarbon fluids usually with non-corrosive, not requiring corrosion of the control of the internal surface. However, the base filling experiment with the internal corrosion maker, with the above ground storage tank with the internal surface, exposed with the water sediments, with the other contamination, general coating with the reduce eliminating corrosion internal surface for the tank of the petroleum surface and internal corrosion cathodic protection conjunction with the coating of the head of the game with the widespread with the unit of the certain condition that can be with effect of protecting against corrosion holidays and the coating with for more detailed information internal cathodic protection. So the National Association of the NACE recommended practice 057 and 0388. Alright, 514, limitation of the external cathodic protection. Cathodic protection affects the meaning of the corrosion with the control of the only with possible electrical current between the anode and cathodic tank of the manufacturer for the either reduce eliminate flow of electrical current through their therefore, many of the limited effectiveness of the cathodic protection and the some case preclude with the use of the other some factors include foundation is concrete, asphalt, oil, sand with imperfect lining between the tank at the bottom and the anode touch for the secondary containment system, the high resistance oil rock foundations, oil storage tank bottoms left in the bottom while the bottom is installed. These are other related factors discuss the more detailed 5.3 and 5.4 with the reckoning of the external cathodic protection, no effect for the internal corrosion. 5.2 tank history. Prior to determination of the need for the cathodic protection, full evaluation of the tank history is 5. The following items should be investigated. Determine the 5.2.1 tank design construction history. Following items should be investigated. Determine the evaluation of tank design construction history. But the foundation design of the site plan with including the tank of the farm layout, construction duty for the soil properties, resistive water table present at the top of the coating and lining for the previous repair of the chain with the soil condition, secondary containment of the membrane with the imperfect lining, secondary bottom, existing cathodic protection nearby, stroke for the maintenance history, the expected life, and rectifier location. 5.2.1.2. Type of the server, the following items should be investigated. Determine the evaluation. Type of the server, the type of the product, store of the product, the temperature for the presence for the dew with the water bottom of the frequency of the fill and the discharge. 5.2.1.3. Inspection corrosion history. The following items should be investigated. Determine the evaluation, inspection corrosion history, tank inspection per API standard 653. Corrosion rate of the record for the corrosion problem with the nearby tank for the corrosion problem with the tank with the similar construction trade current problems with the design performed with the previous construction protection system and if you with the structure solved with potential services. 5.2.1.4. Other factor for the following items should be investigated. Determine the evaluation of the other factor for the neighboring buried with the metallic structure for the neighboring cathodic protection system evaluation. Indicate the external corrosion with the known with the potential concern with the cathodic protection over the corrosion measure for the should be with the internal corrosion known to be problem with using line with the conservative API recommended practice 652 certainly in case of the internal cathodic protection in conjunction with the line may be applicable. 5.3.1 soil foundation soil conditions. 5.3.1 introduction. 5.3.1.1 do the wide variety of the subsurface with the climate condition, the different type of the foundation with the construction for the above ground source and with the cushion material with the tank with the significant external effect of the external corrosion with the tank of the bottom can influence effectiveness of the application of external cathodic protection. Very important. Very important that there is no debris, such as sticks or use the welding rods or electric welding rods or rocks laid with the cushioning material. With the cushioning of the material of the practices, particles should be found in the uniform. The tank should be built with the elevated with the burner to allow the adequate drainage away from the tank of the bottom. Use the fine particle to provide the more dense cushioning to help reduce the influx of the outflow of the oxygen perimeter of the tank with the empty with the infill with the large practical use with the different aeration corrosion may be resolved the points with the larger particle debris with contained within the sealed tank bomb and cave of the cathodic protection not effectively eliminating the pitting. There are no wide variety of the cushioning materials available. Some of them may effectively actually prevent the beneficial effect of the cathodic protection. Personally, they are a situation in which some of the material that probably selectively installed will become the beneficial, reducing corrosion extent of the cathodic protection may be not needed. Alright, 5.3.1.2 with the soil of the resistivity provide with valuable information growth of the material with the UV under and around the tank with the general resistivity, the construction of the table of the wound with the several technique with the measuring soil resistivity, compound method described in the ASTM and G57. 3. Table 1 shows the general classification resistivity over 5 less than 500, 500, 1,000, 1,200, 2,000 to 10,000, and less than 10,000 very corrosive, moderate corrosive, mildly corrosive, progressively less corrosive. 5.3.1.3 resistivity of the foundation over the material that have the existing surrounding soil. However, the corrosive of the soil beneath the high resistivity foundation the material could be contaminated with the foundation filled with capillary action. The resistivity surrounding soil may be used to determine the probability of the corrosion on the tank bottom of the result of the soil resistivity survey being the determinant of the need for the cathodic protection. However, the other properties of the soil C5.3.4 shall be considered. 5.3.2 construction in constant continuous concrete corrosion. The properly designed concrete tank cushioning with the construction of the stable, the properly with the prepared with the subsoil, with the effect of eliminating the intrusion with the groundwater soil side with the corrosion, need with the cathodic protection preparation, stable support soil support with the concrete slab. The very important to ensure the continuing integrity of the pattern, stable the soil with the maybe due with the crack slab with the which with the wall with the contamination with the permeate with the steel tank with the bottom with the provide with the corrosive with the bottom of the portion of the tank. Bottom of the contact with the concrete ring wall will probably not be cathodically protected with the erosion protection of the portion of the tank at the bottom of the enhanced eliminating the increase of the water with the other corrosion of contaminants with the tank periphery. Alright, 5322. All over the corrosion and soil with the may be prevented with the concrete pad, but they may be decollection of the moisture from the dream of the tank at the bottom of the pad due to the condensation blowing with the rain if the snow flowing due to the inadequate drain with the corrosion may occur with the due to the moisture accumulation with cathodic protection generally not concerned with the effect of the combat with the corrosion free draining with the concrete pad with the ring wall with the seal with the round with the peripheral tank with the maybe effective eliminating accumulation moisture between the pad and the tank bottom with flooding with the deck with the above with the tank bottom does not occur with the no and continue to crank the concrete tank foundation. For example, solve the pad with the do not and restrict with the entire oxygen situation where they may be condemned with the tank bottom water is retained. Above the concrete pad accelerate with the atmospheric corrosion may occur with the 5223. Due to non-numerous complex factors for the ineffect of the corrosion tank at the bottom of the underside of the press of the concrete of the prediction of the prosperity with propensity with the current erosion with the case of the extremely difficult to carry should be observed with the tank with the concrete pad with the strength of the cathodic protection most likely will not help to reduce any of the corrosion with it might occur. 533 continuous asphalt conditioning of the new asphalt with the may provide with the may with the sum of the advantage same with the advantage with the disadvantage of the concrete cushion for the reduce the corrosion eliminate the need of the cathodic protection for the important proper support with the preventing curve with the preventing accumulation water between the cushion and the tank bottom with the proper stability. Even more important with the asphalt with the concrete, but it's we cover the asphalt is not inherently alkaline, therefore it does not have any of the potential for the preventing corrosion with the event of the corrosion. Crack for the asphalt degrade with the time of the provide with the path of the water with the dissolved chemicals coming in contact with the shield tank bottom with the line with the corrosion. With the curve of the cathodic protection and apply with the may and may not be able to support separate the corrosion with the asphalt that become deteriorated with the fact that deteriorated asphalt may be shielded with the cathodic protection curve within the manner of the similar with the this amount of the coating with the pipeline with the conduction addition external to the surface with the tank bottom as well the asphalt with the terminated coupons over the cut with the top bottom from the tank of the bottom. 532 native soil cushion soil animals often use this tested with the helping with the determine with the potential corrosive activity with the highly enough to make with the cathodic protection nurture with the cathodic protection practical application for the prevent corrosion designation of the aggressive ions such as the cathode chloride sulfate for the along with the measurement of the pH of the resistivity with the help of the further corrosion analysis to provide guideline reviewing soil analysis data of the variety of the particular side of the chemical difference discussed in the 531 shall be considered the 5342 the cathodic protection of the corrosion control measurement should be considered the soil analysis indicate with the soil corrosion. 535 clean sand and oil sand cushion clean sand with the most commonly material with the cushion between the stores and the tank bottom with the clean sand alone with the normally can does not eliminate any of the cathodic protection since the corrosion may only occur with the intrusion with the water with the rain with the snow with the shallow water table the channel guideline for chemical analysis sand corrosion contaminants discussed in 5341 some of the some of the classifications of the oil have been added with the soil with the same with the various reasons, including the compaction control. Should the pH corrosion 5 to 6 point and a half with very less than 5 points, chloride 3 to 1,000 parts per million, or less than 1,000 parts per million, sulfate to the 1,000 5,000 parts per million, corrosive less than 500,000 parts per million, very corrosive. Experience the industry vary with effectiveness oil save with the corrosion control with the presence with the oil sand beneath the tank of the bottom save with them improving the effect of the corrosion control measure does not eliminate the need of the cathodic protection may cover the cathodic protection left the effect of the cover the higher of the oil sand. 536 contaminated soil cushion the coastal area with the sulfur rate with the tank of the surface with the wash down with the side with the tank with the rain that will flow with beneath the tank with the contaminated with the tank cushion. This often can occur with the further life of the chemicals, maybe the atmosphere with the either with the spring with the industrial operation. Tank cushion also become the contaminated with the wicking with the action with the draw with the contaminated with the chlorides up with the water tip with the cathodic protection usually necessary with the corrosion prevention. And in the situation if the leak with the corrosion but the tank with the leaking the material but they also cover the influence of the corrosion with the external side of the water with the leak with the tank with the environmental with the tank with the become with the may become with the more corrosive the product leave with the tank with the code create with the corrosion self with the need did not previously exhibit the adversely with the fact the effect of the cathodic protection leak of the main wash away with the part of the foundation material the with the contact of the tank bottom with the ground into many of the some area of cathodic protection will not be effective in such area with the additionally with the drainage trap with the foundation material with the maybe deteriorated leak of the well with the water with the contaminants for the remain with the contact with the tank bottom. 537 the cushion limestone with the clamshell cushion with some parts of the United States with the tank cushion with the line layer with the crushed limestone with the clamshell with the size for the tank for the cushion without you the cathodic protection have the produced mixtures of the tank cushion should be found with a uniform some differential aeration corrosion itself will cover the hitting with the contact with the air with a large particle within the metal with the intrusion with the rain with the groundwater with the make with the environmental and with the tank of the alkaline with the may reduce the corrosion contaminants is present in the cushion or with the time to infiltrate with the cushion with the corrosion with the may accelerate thus you with the cushion limestone and the clamshell does not clearly eliminate the need for the cathodic protection of the factor affecting cathodic protection content of the tank. The content of the storage tank of the influence of the corrosion with the tank bottom with the accelerated corrosion with the chemical with the external surface with the bottom of the heat of the tank with the elevated temperature with the air with the wet with the storage tank contained with the hot product may require with the increase with the current density of the tube with the inadequate protection the tube with adequate protection with the external surface with the bottom with the conversely, the surface sufficient of the heat should dry out with a well-drained tank with the increase in the relativity reduce the need for the cathodic protection. However, the tank operator should be aware of the water penetrating with the previously dried out tank with the pad with the should be called above the average rainfall for the resistivity of the tank of the pad with is can decrease with the developing the more with corrosive condition for the situation insulating with the cathodic protection system should be considered. Alright, 542 bottom replacement the tank of bottoms associated with the practice with the cathodic protection system can be with the long term with the integrity of the existing replacement and with the bottom of the method installing the replacement bottoms secondary contaminating system internal lining that must be considered with the determining of the need of the method of the installation with the cathodic protection system with the facts with the related to both the existing new cathodic protection system significant impact for the feasibility effectiveness of the cathodic protection effective the replacement with the bottom secondary contaminated cathodic protection system designed to discuss in 7.2 543 secondary contamination the variety of the method to be able to secondary contamination of these include, but they're not limited to the impervious clay plate pad and the tank deck. The dual bottom tank design with the improved metallic membrane with the UV the secondary contaminant to reduce the environmental risk of the event with a leak with the help with the UV the contaminant. Certain secondary contaminant techniques may be include with the UV the cathodic protection in some cases may cause accelerated corrosion with the tank bottom. Example is with the double bottom of the secondary contaminant system with installed the new steel bottom and over the existing steel bottom of the bottom, which maybe has been repaired with the water with the electrolyte introduced with the analyzed gallows, except the cell that may be formed, which will cover the new steel tank with the curve with the accelerated rate in order to apply with the cathodic protection and the new tank bottom with the anodes with the installed between the old and new bottom if it's the same with the other substance with the conductor that may become the wet or even fill material. Alright, 5433. The secondary contamination system may utilize the improved membrane lining that may be placed in installed with the jacket area prior to the new construction option with the cathodic protection becomes severely limited. Both most cathodic protection systems are rendered with the effective with the measurement aligned with the barrier with the flow of the electrical current necessary for the protection. Another consequence, secondary contaminant involved with the UV the improved line that may be trapped with the corrosive liquid, resulting in more severe corrosion with the tank bottom with the advantage for the disadvantage. UV the secondary contaminated line with a further discussion. In fact, with the secondary contaminant with the cathodic protection refer to 7.2. Alright, 544. Thick film internal lining. Thick film laminated with the corrosion with a chemical resistant lining installed with the tank primarily to prevent internal corrosion. Frequently, UV the alternative relief in the steel bottom tank, as long with the corrosive condition with the end of the tank with the lining with the design structural strength with the fail with the inadequate structural support. UV the thick film laminated with the other type of the internal lining should be not considered with the sufficient justification eliminating UV the external corrosion. Cathodic protection in the tank bottom. 6. Methods of the cathodic protection corrosion control. Introduction. 6.1. Cathodic protection widely accepted the method of the corrosion above the ground steel tank bottom, but may be reduced, eliminated, properly applied for the cathodic protection. Cathodic protection technique preventing the corrosion, making the entire surface of the metal that may be protected with the cathode with electrochemical with the two for the cathodic protection. Galvanic and press current, and then show the anionic methods of the galvanic system of the two. 6.2 with the general, with the galvanic system, the metal, with the more, with the structure, with the protective, with the supply, with the required, with the stop, with the corrosion. Table 3 with the partial, with the galvanic shear, with the more, with the active, with the metal, with the chemical, it's called the anoid, commonly referred to with the galvanic anoid. Sacrificial with the anoids electrically connected with the structure, the protective, with the barrier within soil, with the galvanic corrosion, self with the develop, with the actively metal, with the metal anoid curl, the sacrifice, while the metal surface with the cathode is protected, with the protective current, with the inter, with the structure, with the metal flow, with the corrosion, with the current, for the metal surface with the current, the return with the galvanic anoid, with the metallic conductor, with the most commonly used with the galvanic anoids, with the soil, with the magnesium, zinc, with any other cast of ribbon and form of the anoids, with the usually distributed with around with the parameter of the perimeter of the tank of the barrier, with the knee of the tank of the bottom of the galvanic system, and the usually applied with small diameter tanks. 6.2. The advantage of the galvanic system. They are several advantages of the galvanic system. No external power supply with required with the external installation is relatively easily capital investment, lower and small diameter tank with the maintenance costs minimal. The interference problems of state currents are rare. Less frequently monitoring is required. And 6.3. The disadvantage galvanic system. The several disadvantages galvanic system during the potential is limited to low, the current output is low. And the method is limited to the low resistivity, so the method is practical protection of large bare structures. 6.3. Impressed current system. They general the second method of playing with the cathode protection above ground steel tank bottom is UV the compressed current with the external source for the compressed current system, and UV the direct current usually provided with the rectifier attached for the AC power. With the rectifier converts the alternating current with the direct current with the rectifier flow with the varied input of the current anode with the anode through the soil electrolyte with the opposite tank bottom shown in Figure 6. 632. Advantage of the compressed current system. The advantage of the compressed current system include the availability of large driving the potential high current output capable of protecting a large structure with the capability of variable the current output with the applicable almost of the resistivity. 633. Disadvantage of compressed current. The disadvantage of the compressed current system include with the possible interference with the problems of state current for the form structure for the loss of the AC power supply power call for the loss of protection. Maintenance for the operating call for the high capital call for the small installation safety aspect of the rectifier location safety aspect of the negative leave connection most frequently monitoring. Figure 5 show the cathodic protection wall with sacrificial anodes, galvanic anode with the backfill of the current with the tank bottom. This show the figure 6 show the impressed current with the cathodic protection with the tank bottom with the current with the rectifier with the impressed current with the anode back to fill. 634 with cathodic protection with the rectifier. Any typical with cathodic rectifier with the two major with the step down transformer to reduce the AC supply with the voltage for the rectifier element for the convert the AC to input with the DC output with the units obtained with the silicone rectifier element. Silicone rectifier is generally more resistant, however, the more susceptible to damage with the power surge. Therefore, protective devices should be these units of preventing lightning damage because of the disease of the life of the high temperature of the silicone rectifier is not recommended with the aimed temperature of the expected to exceed 130 degrees Fahrenheit. 635 in the press current anodes. The press current anodes with the soil made with the material with the graphite with the steel with the high silicone cast iron mixed with the metal oxide with the titanium and anodes usually buried and coated with the breeze backfill with the extent of their life with the review for the circuit resistance that may be located with the remote with the ground bed the distributed around with the tank installed underneath the tank and installed with the deep ground beds. Alright, Chapter 7, the design cathodic protection system. Introduction. The cathodic protection system is designed with the install to prevent the corrosion of the tank bottom, satisfying with the requirements of one or more of the criteria listed section 8. In order to achieve the desired result of the cathodic protection system must be properly designed. With the cathodic protection system should be designed studied with the following items: the design with the engineering specification, practice for the operation, practice procedures, safety environmental hazardous requirements, and field testing. 712. The general design should be adequate with the corrosion protection. The minimize the installation made with the operation call for the major object for the cathodic protection design tank of the bottom is delivered to distribute the sufficient current for the tank bottom to ensure the criteria with the protection is needed to provide the design life of the anode system of the equipment to demonstrate with the design life of the tank with the provide with the periodic replacement of the anodes to maintenance with the equipment provide with the added allowance with the anticipated change with the current requirements for the time place for the anode cables rectify the test station wherever the possibility of physical damage is minimal minimize the interferences with the neighboring structure that provides sufficient monitoring points with the measurement can be taken to determine the protection criteria of the entire surface of the tank bottom. There is a major factor that many factors that can be considered with the design with both internal and external the cathodic protection. The cathodic resistance system must be designed only by the person thoroughly familiar with the cathodic protection practices. Whenever possible, the design should be based on the standard components provided by the manufacturer generally, and gave the production of the cathodic protection system component. The 7.2 with the influence of replacement of the landing secondary contamination containment of the design. Period for the cathodic protection. Cathodic protection achieved with the direct flow of the current with the anode cathode result of the protection of the cathode. Anything that acts with the barrier with the flow of the current with the prevent the application of the cathodic protection secondary containment of the replacement of the bottom and if such an effect for the not properly considered. 722 tank bottom replacement. The replacement of the tank bottom is accepted the practice of the old bottom left in place with the remove with the significantly impact with the type of the cathodic protection so feasible the corrosion of the control of the new bottom. 723 with the consideration with secondary contaminant within the air with the impervious membrane lining. The one method of provide the secondary contaminant with the entire dark air with the impervious membrane with the impervious membrane. The existing membrane over the tank with the new tank can have a significant impact with the choice of the design of the cathodic protection system. And air of the anodes must be placed between the membrane with the tank bottom in order for the cathodic protection to work with. Figure 7, however, if the layer of the bentonite with the clay with the installed beneath the tank with the secondary contaminant experience with the shown with it will not significantly affect the operation of the cathodic protection system. 7232 with existing multiple single tanks within the dike lining. Install with the cathodic protection system the existing tank with the dike area with the line with the dike wall with the dike wall with the under the tank with the impervious membrane with that one option with the bore under the tank of the barrier shell and will install the anodes under the tank in order to obtain the adequate operation protection. The impressed with the current system probably would be required that they would be feasible only with the sufficient depth between the tank at the bottom of the membrane and the integrity of the management would not be compromised at this time. The limited experience with the type of the system. 7233 new multiple single tank with the dike lining. The new tank for the dike area line with the improved line with the can be achieved with the network shallow anode with gray with the ribbon and anodes with the replaced with the between line with the tank at the bottom during the construction of the arrangement can be improved with the current system with galvanic system help with the geosynthetic clay liner may be used with the conventional cathodic protection system installed. 724 replacement of the repair of the steel tank bottom. The replacement of the repair of the steel tank bottom is a common practice for the shell of the tank, particularly with the outlet for the bottom. The lining for the frequently installed with the tank with the protected against the internal corrosion installation with the new tank seal tank bottom is very common practice acceptance for the commonly used for the replacing the tank bottom, but it can be found with the API recommended practice 572 and 653. The method of repairing bottom placement of the major importance to determine the cathodic protection should be installed with whether or not the effective cathodic protection system can be installed. If the existing of the tank bottom is protected with the cathodic protection is playing with the new bottom, meaning the deeper the shell of the ground bite to the old bottom will be able to completely remove this is not remove the old bottom of the forms of shell, shoot with the collect for the cathodic current through with the ground with the prevent the cathodic protection, the new bottom left, the cathodic protection is installed between the two steel bottom of the old bottom is removed, electrically isolated with the collector with the non-conductive material with the galvanic cell with the developed between the old and new bottom of the industrial experience. It has shown with the conductive electrolyte ziff between the bottom of the current flow with the metal left that will be from the new bottom, the result of the premature failure with the new bottom. And then it showed the anode must be between the line with the tank bottom of the deck, the tank with the laid wire with the tank with the rectifier with the deck, and the improved membrane with the cathodic protection current with the remote with the ground bright shield with the membrane. And then over here you have the new steel bottom tank with the bottom, the cathodic protection U with the anodes installed between the new and old bottom of the new steel floor, the old steel floor, the current with the old tank at the bottom shield with the existing cathodic protection system of the new steel bear, and the cathodic protection current with the rectifier with the offering no current, no protection to the new floor. Alright, 725 of the infect for the impermeable membrane with the secondary contaminant system. The installation of the secondary contaminant membrane between the old and new bottom with the alternative for the rack of the disadvantage of the advantages. There are several advantages for the installation of secondary contaminant system for the provide with the mean with the detecting contaminating link with the prevent with the good ground contamination if the leak of the current, eliminating natural current flow from the old bottom with the new bottom with the reducing accelerated failure over the new bottom with the due to the galvanic corrosion. The new reduce the entry of the ground water of the space between the bottom with the integrity of the tank membrane seal with the criteria critical in the case. Disadvantage installing with the secondary contamination system. Disadvantage of the following. The reason make sure for the future of addition with the cathodic protection virtually impossible. Remember the acts of the basement with the containment of the water, any other electrolyte with the might well with the same with the between the old and new with the bottom with the increase of the corrosion rate. Could entrap the hydrocarbon to product with the air by requiring that every extra precaution with the work to protect, keep the advantage for the eliminate the reduce the adverse effect for the membrane of the old bottom of the install of the cathodic protection system between the old bottom and the new bottom of the stress of the system consistent with the grid bottom gridded ribbon aminoid and embedded with the same between the old and the bottom of the new bottom of the connecting with the new wire connecting wire over the project with the membrane with the salt with the bed head for the old shell portion to connect with directly tank through the testing station type system that have to be installed with the top of the bottom of the replay for the uninspected the anode wastage occur with the remedial branch for the replay for the anodes could be easily accomplished. Advantage of the system could be following the need for the feature of the cathodic protection system installed with the increase. Remember, act with the barrier for the current flow for the protecting old bottom, directing all current toward the new bottom, and then also as long with the sands and stay with the drive of the corrosion with the low of the would be off the result of the high resistivity of the sand with the corrosion would tend to increase with the same with the become with the wet with the resistivity of the sand well it must be low with the much of the current with the flow of the cathodic protection would increase with the self-governing system. The cathodic cost of the owners and small fraction of the total cost of the external cathodic protection introduction purpose of the section recommended procedure for the design of the cathodic protection will effectively control the external corrosion satisfying with one or more of the criteria listed in section A of the intended for the life of the above ground storage tank. The design consideration design cathodic protection. The following items should be considered. A. The recognition of the hazard condition prevailing with the provided installation site with the selection specification material, the installation practice to ensure the safety of the installation operation cathodic protection. B. Specification material installation practice with the conform with the applicable of the National Electrical Manufacturers Association NACE of the practice of federal, state, and local regulations. Selection design of the cathodic protection system for the optimal economy of the installation, making the operation selection specification material, the installation practical to ensure the dependable operation throughout the intended service level of the cathodic protection. Select the design to minimize the excess of the protection, protect the current with the other potential radiance and detrimental effect of the tank of the piping, the coating of the neighboring buried and submerged metallic structure, the provision monitoring of the cathodic protection system operation. 733 information useful design. Information useful of the design with the divided into three categories: specification, practice of the site condition, field survey, corrosion test, and operational experience. 733 specification practice information pertaining to these specification practices may be useful. Site plan with the system layout of the construction date with the tank of the design with the information pump with the power supply with the coating of the corrosion control, test station, electrical isolation, electrical bonds, electrical conduiting, and routing electrical area with the classification boundary. 732 for the site with conditions. The factors relating to the site with the conditions of the may be useful in the design cathodic protection. Proposed the cathodic protection system possible interference of the source of the trade with the special environmental conditions. The depth of the bedrock, the depth of the frost line, the neighboring buried bolt metallic structure, including the location, ownership of the corrosion control, play a practice with the structural accessibility of the power availability of the flexible electrical isolation pouring structure for the secondary contamination system, if any, in areas of the poor water drains. Field survey with the corrosion test data of the operation experience with following information may be useful outputs with the protected current requirements of the most meet applicable criteria with electrical resistance of the electrolyte or so with the electrical continuity of the system of the electrical installation of the system coding, the integrity leak of the history of the similar structure with the error, the deviation of the controller, specification existing with the straight current of the other main of the operation. Data 734 of the consideration influencing selection of the type of the cathodic protection of the system, following factors of the selection of the cathodic protection system, side with the number of the things to be protected, the current required. Soil condition of the residue, chemical, the composition, aeration, pH, possible cathodic protection, interference with the adjacent infrastructure of the further future development of the existing storage system of the cathodic protection equipment, installation of the operation of the main of the existing proposed secondary contamination system, several operations, several options available to protection with the one or more tanks include shallow anodes installed with the area around the peripheral of the tank of the anodes installed directly under the tank of the prior to the construction of the bore, under the tank of the angle of the anodes can be installed with under the tank of the pad and provide the adequate protection and use the deep ground bed. 735 the the cathodic protection galvanic anode system. Galvanic system of the galvanic anodes can be made with the material of the magnetism zinc with either cathode of the ribbon in the form of the install with the either bear with the package, then special backfill with the anode connect with the system are either singular or in group. The cathodic anodes are limited with the current with the output of the system, the anode with the driving voltage of the current circuit resistant with the more be economically cathodic protecting bear poorly coated with a very large structure for the impressed with the current type of the system. The cathodic protection system made current more economically small diameter with and the three galvanic anode material with the coast commonly used in soil insulation, high potential magnesium alloy, standard magnesium alloy zinc. 73513 with the magnesium and zinc of the anodes with the package with the special backfill with the readily available number to shop with the weight with the configuration to meet the various of the current output with the anode life with the design requirements used over the special backfill with the anodes desirable insulation soil environment. The special backfill constitute with the proper mixture with the gypsum, bentonite, sodium sulfite with the promotes so the anode efficiency, the length of the anode life with the keep the anodes environmental moist. 73514 the number of the anodes provided required to provide the cathodic protection above ground storage can depend on the plan of the total current, but the requirement of the expected individual unknown of discharge within the plate for the anode current, but the distributing factor that should be considered sometimes it is. All the angels that consider the difference over these anodes of the required that give it therefore the distribution of the current distribution over the more the uniform polarization obtained with the distribution analyzed uniformly around the tank of the under the tank of the new construction and impressed current system. The anodes. Impressed current anodes of the given material with the stuff limited with the graphite, high silicone, cast iron, steels, and palletized planetized meal with the magnetite mixed metal oxide with the anodes and installed with the either bear with a special backfill with the material that usually copperies. They are connected with an insulated with the conductor either singly or group with the pipe with the terminal with the direct current surf of the structure is connected with the negative terminal of the direct current surf. The graphite high silicone cast iron makes some of them over the oxide anodes with the generally preferred with the soil insulation planetized niobium, petroleum, titanium as best suited with water rather than soil isolation. Each anode material with the optimum current with the density with the provide with the maximum anode surface level of the anodes made liquid with the remote with ground bands located with the deep of the ground where they distributed closely under the structure of the be protected for the properly ground beds. Design should be avoid the physical interference of existing facility to provide uniform current with the distribution avoid straight current with the interface with outside structure. The number of the anodes particularly with the cathodic protection design with the term of the total current with the requirements of the structure to protect the optimum current density of the anode material select the distributed with the anode design with the additional anodes may be installed to provide the most uniform current distribution provided the line with the case for the isolated with the anode connected to the failure to the partial anode depletion. 73522 the current voltage requirement. The optimum design with the current required by the cathodic protection should be calculated with the result of the current requirements of the test for the inhale loop with the current with the requirements of the generally accepted protected the current with the density with between 1 and 2 milliamp with the per square foot of the ambient condition current requirements of the U with the performed on existing tanks and conducting temperature anode bed with the ground bed with the appropriate soil for the direct current with the temperature ground bed typically positioned with the soil with the parameter of the tank with the tank of the current required with the power source for the conveyor between 12 volt storage battery with the 300 amp welding unit. 7352222 the current requirements for the test with the known amount with the current through the temperature anode with the soil with the 112 the tank with the particular I agree with the protection with the various locations for the ground the tank the tank center the possible with the potential measurement of the testing allowing with the approximation current with the required with the protection of the tank of the current requirement test should be conducted with the adequate level of the tank with the maximum with the contact with the tank bottom with the cushion material the voltage necessary to divide with the required with the amount with the tank with the dependent with the large with the number of location of the anodes the oil and the resistivity of the soil with the current with the generally known with the current requirements depth this estimated voltage requirement can be calculated with the laws voltage equal to amps over the amp of the amps time of the amps the resistance of the circuit is known with the resistance estimated with the surface several ways. For existing impressed current system similar with the on to be installed the current requirement to be described above the test round to be similar in the file 1. For soil resistivity the anode earth can be calculated with the variation of Dwight's equation. The anode earth resistance is generally dominant part of the overall circuit resistance and the current system. Figure 9 shows the current requirements of the testing system. The ammeter with the temporary anode battery DC power supply with the copper sulfate oxide oxy 4 reference axle electrode tank pump potential measurements high input resistance voltmeter. 7352 the 73523 for the rectifier selection. Rectifier output capacity selected with a dependent of the following factors. Estimated measure for the current requirement of the structure to be protected with the voltage needed to cause with the current flow of the anode of the barrier. Structure for the rectifier mounted access with the capability ticket 10 to 15% should be selected to allow during the duration of the life of the cathodic protection system. Prevent the damage of the due well. So overloads should be observed. Except for the rectifier applicable capacity will be used to drive the anodes. Increase the current output of the anodes above the manufactured rating will cover the degree for the anode life. 736. Electrical isolation. Installation of the device consists of the flange assembly with the prefabricated installation joined with the coupling with the should be installed with electrical isolation. The system required for the facility application for the corrosion control of the device should be properly with the rate with the temperature pressure for the electrical strength with an insulating device should be not installed and collapse enclosed area with the combustible atmosphere not only present. The electrical grounding of the electrical equipment is an essential equipment. The personal safety not be practical with the desirable electrical isolation with the storage tank for each of the other adjacent plant with the equipment to do with the portable interconnection with the ground grid. Attached auxiliary equipment for the electronic gauge with the mixture motor with the lighting with the big crew with the possibility of effectively maintaining isolation installation with the cathodic protection. The tank bottom should be reckoned with the sum of the current to collect with the adjacent buried metallic equipment. The lighting and rest of the fall with the current protection of the device with the insulator should be suitable for the short time with the high current loading with the insulating device with the insulator with the area with the dome with the space effective with the high voltage area altering current over the power line with precaution should be to ensure the AC potential for the across the device for the not present with the hazard of the personnel with the refer to latest for revision of the NACE RP0177 internal cathodic protection. The design of the internal cathodic protection system complicated with the variation level of the accumulated growth of the medium with the usually water in addition to the presence of the slate of the contaminants could have the detrimental the performance of the cathodic protection system for the main factors influencing the design internal cathodic protection system. Fewer factors listed below. The condition, type of the clothing, minimal, maximum water level, the tank of the compatible storage liquid, the anodes, capable of the internal inspection of the internal of the tank for the effect of the design life. Because of the many variables associated with the design of the internal cathodic protection system with the petroleum stored with the UV, the type of the system limited with industrial wide practice did not exhibit the recommendation section 4.5 of the NASCE RP0575 of the King itself of the design system of the above ground hydrogen storage tank at the bottom of the NACE RP0388 should be consulted with the design information impressive of the current system. 8. Criteria over the cathodic protection. Introduction. Purpose of the section of the criteria with the cathodic protection. The adequate cathodic protection has been achieved. The selection protection, particular criteria with achievement the object for the unbends of the part with the criteria with the extreme with the similar structure of the environments wherever the criteria has been successfully has been used successfully. Protection criteria with the sufficient criteria with the determined adequate cathodic protection has achieved the seal of the iron structure for the more detailed description refer to the latest edition ACERP0169. Following criteria with the developed laboratory experiment with the determined experimental empirical to evaluating data with the obtained with the special obtained with the operated with the cathodic protection system that initiated with a responsible person with the corrosion control may be limited with the criteria with the demonstrated with the corrosion control to be achieved with the other means. The negative of the cathodic protection less than 850 millivolts of the cathodic protection current applied with the potential should be measured with respect with the saturated copper to copper sulfate reference electrode code and electrolyte with the voltage drop other than across the tank at the bottom to the electrolyte boundary. It must be designed with the valid interpretation of the voltage measurements. A negative polarized potential will leave the 850 millivolts with the respect of the CSE with on the common method of measuring polarization potential of the instant off technique. Minimum 100 millivolt for the cathodic polarization measured with the tank at the bottom of the LCL, except for the station with the reference of electrode contact electrolyte with the formation decay of the polarization measured satisfy the criteria. 8.3 measurement for the technique. For the standard method to determine the effectiveness of the cathodic protection tank bomb, the tank so for the potential of the measurement of the performance of the high impedance of the voltmeter with the able to reproducible reference electrode coding and electrolyte with the measurement of the common made with the reference electrolyte over the over the parameter of the tank of the bottom shown figure 10 with the measurement of the parameter of the tank of the main not represent the tank over the strength of the tank bottom with the monitoring tank to solve the potential of the center of the tank of the discussed 9.4. 8.3.2 the tanks over the potential measurement the typical of the tank with the carried up there how with the amp drop with the soul with maybe you have the correct the amps on with the drop with the often necessary for the measurement that made with the tank parameter will even the reference of the electrode made from immediately adjacent to the tank. This is especially true with the distributed with the anodes with the clove of the tank with the sense of the parameter of the tank may be with the electrode field with grading with the anodes. The value of the amps on the drop of the method of the correction should determine the use of the sound engineering practice interpreting the flow of the current of the rectifier Using instant alpha technique with the common method of the amp on the drive of the ones that determine the KBU with the failure with the features have the same location and condition of the remain similar. Consider the should be given with the monitoring of the actual structure of the soil with the potential under the tank of the use will permanently increase and install with the reference with the electrode insert with the reference of the electrode under the tank of the refrigerated tube with the C9 4 tank bottom surface with the contain with the tank cushion with the may vary with the tank content level with the certain of the condition can cover the various tank soil potential level of the tank content should be conserved at the time of the survey. And for the more detailed information, NACE publication 10.819. High input resistant voltmeter of the tank of the copper sulfate oxide reference to the collapsible possible tank resistant placement, and then your tank and the potential measure for the several locations are around the tank. Alright, 8.4 alternative reference electrode. Of the same reference electrodes substitute the saturated copper sulfate reference electrode with the three commonly used the reference electrode with the list with the table to forward with along with the voltage equivalent of the negative 850 and hundredths of the volt reference for the saturated copper sulfate reference electrode. And then 9 show the insulation cathodic protection introduction. The purpose of the section the recommended practice of the procedure, the installation of the cathodic protection system, the control of the corrosion, think about with the design with the categorization recommendation section as well. The installation cathodic protection system should be with the supervision trained with the qualified personnel and ensure the installation of the trick of the core with the wrong with the specification, exceptions may be made only with the approval of the owner operated with the personnel qualified with the owner and operator. Into the galvanic system, the anode system. The package anode should be inspected with the ensure with the integrity with the container should be kept with the drive during the storage of the individual pack with the anode supplied with the water with the container. The container may be removed before installation. Electrical continuity between the anode and lead wire should be tapped to compromise with the integrity of the package. The packaging galvanic anode should be backfilled with a compact native soil with the figure 11 to show with the typical galvanic anode installed. 4922. The anode is special backfill with the separator with the anodes will be sent with a special backfill with it should be compacted prior to backfilling with the native. 923 with the naveling anode, you with the protective internal surface of the tank bottoms of the bolts of the weld of the tank bottom of the connection should be coated with the care. Should be taken not to coat and paint the anode. When the ribbon type of the anode is between the tank and the bottom, generally installed with a clean and dry sand without the special backfill. The ribbon should be carefully with the straightened and made to lie flat with the anode will contact the seal and bottom. Alright, this show with the tank to the tank and anode. The grade with the soil backfill with the galvanic anode backfill. The 925 with the care should be taken with the lead wire with the connection with the not damage with the backfill with the lead wire, but it should have enough slack with the prevent strain with the one anode should be not considered with the lowered in the excavation of the lead wire. 9.3 impressed current with the impressed current systems. Introduction. Impressed current anode should be instructed with the defect with the conform of the anode material system design with the length of the lead wire. The ensure the anode cap with the U with the caps. Care must be secured. Exercise avoid crack with the damage anode with the handle with the insulation crack with the anode should be not be U with the lead wire. Should be carefully with the inspect with the defect with the insulation. Care must be taken with the avoid damage with the insulation wire with the defect with the lead wire that must be repaired with the anode must be rejected. Inspect with the current anodes with the vertically horizontal angle the deep of the holes with the impressed current with the anode typically installed with the carbonatious backfill surface with the coke breathe with the backfill with the install properly shove it. There's no voids around the anode with much of the current reach with the anode conduct with the backfill and electrical contact with the promo with the construction backfill. Instead of the anode, a substantial length of the effective of the anode life with the carbonaceous backfill also tend to reduce the total circuit resistance of loading anode to the soil resistance. 9313 with the principal point of the observe the insulation prep with the current anode with the coke with the curly correctly install the loop of the backfill with the high resistance short and anode with the anode should be coated. Same with the coke with the premature anode with the curve with the comes in contact with the soil. The very connection protect with the extreme the precaution of the game with the extension of the moisture with the aim with the discharge current with the cable will just rapidly with the cable should be taken with the protect the cable care should be taken with the protect with the cable connection of the end with the weak point with the anode is joined with the point prone with the failure with the instrument with the moisture with the even with the tiny is cracked. The anodes and cracks should be installed with the sufficient depth of the protection with the adjacent damage with the remember with the anode with the sure with the corrosion if the slight break of the insulation. 932 shallow ground ground bed insulation. Figure 12 is over the example of shallow ground bed insulation, typical vertical anode insulation with a 8 to 12 inches diameter, approximately 10 to 15 feet with the deep with the power algorithm. The equipment that you would be able to easily build the frame the right way with the permit with the anode center for the opening of the permit properly installed with the backfill with the string carefully sampled the necessary maybe the anodes can be come pre-packaged complete with the backfill with the nominal 8-inch diameter. Sometime with the necessary install the anode located for the encounter showed a shallow depth of the soil with the resistivity and mark with the depth of the size for the copy of the horizontal installation anode the ditch excavated with whatever the depth of the practical with the horizontal column the coke with the brief with the hair with the square with the cross section anode with the horizontal and the center of this column. In some instances improve with the current distribution center with the tank at the bottom of the most desirable install the anodes which over the drill with the angle the perimeter of the tank bottom of the current center of the anode of the beneficial stuff of the insulation, ensure that the anodes remain certain center in the coke breeze column. Deep ground bed insulation where the ground bed is shown with the figure 13 required with the latest edition NACE. Show the rectifier junction box tank and the anodes, and then show the rectifier junction negative lead connection anodes and the tank. The recommended practice 0572 for the prior insulation deep ground bed, and important to consider the environmental aspect of the insulation of the ground bed may be located with the underground aquifers operating with the provide the internal external corrosion, but the ceiling will maintain with the separation between the surface and the subsurface and insulation environments. Alright, 934. Rectifier insulation. The rectifier other power sources should be installed with the possibility of damage vandalism is minimized with the rectifier associated with wiring should be collided with the local state of the National Electrical Code with electrical classification per AAPI. Recommended practice of the 500. Any external disconnection AC wiring should be provided. The rectifier should be properly grounded. The wire connection rectifier must be mechanically secured electrically conducted before the power source of the engine driver that may be verified negatively with the connected with the structure of the protector with the positive lead with the connected with the anodes. If the lead of the reverse of the positive lead with the mistake of the tank of the bottom will serve to the anode rapid corrosion with the can result. Power welded connection, for example, the cod weld thermite or the equivalent with the preferred map means with the negative rectifier lead with the construction. However, the good mechanical structure that may be substituted with the necessary with the positive the cable connection with the splice wire with carefully waterproof with the cover with the electrical isolation. The material with the mechanical connections are used not to be buried. Cable installation upground with the all underground wire attached with the positive of the rectifier with the terminal positive potential with respect to the ground with the completely insulated with the wire discharge with the with the axis of the anode, the result of the corrosion of the wire, rapid with the cathodic protection inspection of the anode, all lead wire with the headers and cable and wire with the splice carefully inspected with the backfilling, cable being installed with the proper precautions. Backfilling should be free, sharp, stone with the other material could damage the wire. Installation consideration should be given the installation of the cable rigid conduity area with the subject of the frequent excavation cable of insulation and prior to the damage of by rodents. 3-5 underground splice for the header cable with the lead wire with the ground bed should be available. The connection between the header of the cable and the anode lead wire should be mechanically secured with the electrically conducted. The position should be left to avoid strain on all wires. All splice for the connections must be sealed to prevent moisture of the penetration. Electrical isolation environmental insured. Alright, 9-4 corrosion control of the test station connections and bottom of the structural test lead should be clean with the drive of the form material of the points of the connection. Show with the joint box rectifier negative leave the tank of the environmental seal with the necessary refer to the government authority and jurisdiction environmental seal requirements. Deep ground bed anodes coke breezing following filled column insulated deep ground. Alright, connection for the test lead wire with the structure must be installed with the remaining mechanically secured with the electrical conducted with the electrically standpoint with the powdered welding powdered weld connection. For example, the cobalt thermite equivalent, however, the method recommended with the air with the combustible atmosphere that existing does during the atmospheric pressure. Attachment must be given to the man for the installing of the test and lead wires for the corrosion to control of the vaccine with the physical strength of the structure of the point of attachment. All test lead wire with attachment bare test lead with the wire shall be covered with the electrical insulating material for the test lead wire with the color code with the other wire permanently identified with the sufficient slack which should be left to avoid strain on all wire damage insulated that must be avoided with the proper prepare with the made with the occurs. One of the problems associated with the mounting with the cathodic protection tank bottom, the inability with the place of the proper portable reference electrode with close up the approximately the underside of the new tank for the problem of the testing tank so with the potential of the center that may be solved with installing either the following: permanent rectifier electrode lead wire with underneath the tank cushion parameter with which they can be determined with the test station feature of the testing figure 14 perforated polyvinyl chloride with a fiber for reinforced plastic pipe with the profiling tank and soil potential with the parameter with the center tank test lead with the connection testing station. The permanent reference lead the tank of the sand reference 14 permanently installed with the reference electrode testing station. When permanently referenced electrodes are specified by the installation should be per manufacturer recommended procedures. If the tank should be kept with the schedule with the bottom repair for the life in the consideration should be given the installation one with the permanent reference with the electrode with the tank bottom with the existing of the tank with the NAS schedule with the size for the repair and installation with the permanent reference electrode with can be accomplished by either the water jetting mechanical property with the hole with the being more the parameter of the tank with the strand with the tank with the perforated PVC with the FRP pipe with the installed with the underneath the existing tank with the figure 15 with the periphery with the U with the installed with the man with the provide with the electrical continuity. So outside with the tube with the electrode inside with the tube with the entire length with the submersible copper sulfate with a reference electrode can be inserted with the pipe with the non-metallic electrician fish shape with a small diameter of the PVC pipe to obtain with the profile with the tank of the soil potential crop the tank with the bottom of the metallic device is used with the into reference electrode should be removed by reading of the readings taken. Caution care must be exercised with the the water jetting technique to prevent undermining of the tank foundation. Mechanical means with the tube inserting with it should be considerably controlled to avoid damage of the tank bottom. It's commonly contact with the tank with a knife, the eyes with the pick with the contain with taking the tank of the soil with the potential measurement with the repeated action can cover the easy failure of the tank point system with the permanently installed the test lead with the ground lug within a short piece of the cable. The tubing can avoid everything and also readably identify the normal monitoring location. Isolating devices required for the inspection with electrical measurements should be made with the ensure the electrical isolation effectively meets for the requirements of cathodic protection. Electrical devices isolated with a liquid stored with the system like cathodic protection purposes should provide the safety of the ground with the cap electrical codes. 10. Interference current. For the introduction, the purpose of the second identify the source for the interference current is recommended practice for the detection with the control of the current of the S should be known for the isolation of the impressive current cathodic protection system made interference with the neighboring structure. Interference with the desirable to discharge of the current structure cover the application of the electrical current from the foreign source of the interference with normally DC source through an AC source with cover the interference problem with a more detailed description of the 4-2 consult and show the test meter with the perforated PVC pipe with the reference for the electrode and the sand. The latest edition of the NAC the RP0169 more information on the interference currents. Source of the interference current of the constant current of the rear floor of the essential constant, direct current of the outside of the most surface of the rectifier engine of the nearby cathodic protection. Fluctuations current of the source of the fluctuation direct current output with the greatest source of the tray current of the electrical railway rapid transit, the underground mining electrical system, welding machine detection interference current of the corrosion during the corrosion control survey of the personnel should be altered with the electrical physical observation and the interference of the neighboring structure. They include the negative shift of the structural soil with the potential for the effect of the structure for the point with the predictive of the foreign direct currents of the lives of shift of the structural soil with the potential for the effect of the structure for the point with the current or the discharge of the effect of the structure and the local spitting with the area of the nearly immediate adjacent to foreign structures. 10-4 control of the interference current of the area. 3 fundamental approach for the resolving the interference problem. The design with the aims of the minimizing the exposure bind with the provide the metallic return with the control collective the fluctuation foreign structure the auxiliary drain with the current collected current by the use of the sacrificial anodes. 10-4-2 with the interference problems are prevented with the result of the participation in local corrosion coordinating with the committee with the interference effect with the observer with the committee with the can often provide information on the source of the interference current, but there is no local committee exists and they refer to the NACE TPC publication 11. 11. Operation maintenance of the cathodic protection introduction purposes section recommended in practical practice of the energizing maintaining continuous effective efficient operation cathodic protection system electrical measurement of the inspection necessary to determine the protection they establish over the according to the applicable each of the cathodic protection system operating condition of the effects. The protection for the subject with the with the time of the corresponding with maybe to require with the cathodic protection system to maintain the prior protection from the periodic measurement and inspection necessary to detect the chain with the cathodic protection system consider the maybe the other experiment with indicating with the testing and inspection should be made with the more frequently with the recommended herein. The care should be of the location, the number, the type of the electrical measurement that you would determine the adequacy of the correct cathodic protection within the tank of the empty with the large area with the bottom with the contact with the underlying soil with the potential survey even the cave of the may be given misleading information. Bottom of the electrolyte with the potential reading with the indicator with the adequate cathodic protection portion of the tank at the bottom with the contact with the soil within the tank of the soil and all of the tank bottom of the contact with the soil with the protection may be insufficient. Therefore, potential survey should be conducted with the adequate level of the tank to maximize the contact with the tank bottom of the cushion material. If the cathodic protection device is shut off while the working on the storage of the system, it should be re-energized the soil as soon as possible to avoid the corrosion damage of the external extensive of the maintenance period. 11.2. All impressive current system must be designed with safety in mind, with the care must be taken to ensure that all the cables protected with the physical damage and possible arcing rectifier and junction boxes must be made the regulatory requirements of specific location environmental with the installer specification lay determining the requirement of reviewing local, state, federal, prevailing industrial codes. Consideration should be given in locating and isolating devices and junction box rectifiers outside hazard the air that's causing in case of sparks or arcs occur during the testing. In order to prevent arcing, care must be extra working with the preparing breakout pipe to be attached for the tank with the cathodic protection applied with the cathodic protection system turned off with a sufficient time that must be allowed with the depolarization before operating the connection bonding cables maybe use the partial breakout with the piping joint. The additional guidance required regarding arc doing static electricity, static currents, lighting could be obtained by API recommended practice 2003. The potential protection against the ignitions against rising out of static lightning and straight currents. Alright, 11.3 cathodic protection. Surveys prior to energy of the new cathodic protection system measurement of native structural soil potential should be made with immediate cathodic protection energized repair survey should be conducted with the determined operates properly with the initial survey with the should be satisfied with the applicable criteria should be conducted with the adequate polarization. The curve of the polarization steady to stable may take several months after the system is energized with the survey should be include one or more of the following type of this measurement. The structural soil potential for the anoid current with the native structural soil potential structural structures potential piping and tank of the installation with the protected separately with the structural soil potential with the adjacent structure the continuing structure that protect with a single structure, rectifier, DC voltage, DC amp, deficient tap setting of the anode cathodic protection survey with the recommended ensure the effectiveness of the cathodic protection electrical measurement. You with the survey they include with the warm of the measurement listed above. Inspection, testing, cathodic protection facility should be made with the ensure the proper operation maintenance and all sorts of press current with the drill be checked for the interval with the next with the 2 months of the evidence of the proper function of the beat make current with the output and no power consumption with the signal indicating normal operation satisfactory electrical state with the protected structure with the satisfactory comparison between the rectifier operation by monthly basis the rectifier operation during annual survey impressed with imply with the protected staff of the affected structure and the similar does not take into account with the possible effect of the form structure. All press currents protected with the facility should be inspected annually with this part of the maintenance program. The minimum of the interpret with inspection should be included with a check of all of the electrical short ground connection, meter accuracy, efficiency, and circuit resistance. The effectiveness of the isolating device continuing bond with the insulator should be evaluated with a periodic method that they can be accomplished on-site with the inspection with evaluating corrosion testing data. Tank bottom should be examined at the evidence of the corrosion over the when it curve exit of the bottom with this possible during the repairs modification conjunction with inspection AP. I recommend in practice 653 examination bottom side with the corrosion may be done by coupon cutouts. Non-destructive method of ultrasonic inspection of electromagnetic flux leakage. Remedial measures should be taken with a periodic test for the test and indicate that the protection no longer adequate. According to the applicable criteria, the measure may include the repair, replacement, adjusting of the cathodic protection system, providing supplementary facility with additional protection for the necessary repair, replacement, adjusting the continuing interface with the line with eliminating accidental metallic contact with the repair with a defect for the insulating device, the resolution of interference current, resolution of the interference current with the cathodic protection record for the purpose of the section described with the corrosion with the current control record with the document with a clear, concise, with the workable name with the pertaining the design, installation, operation, maintenance, effectiveness, the corrosion control measure. Determine the need for the cathodic protection listed in 5.2 should be recorded the design cathodic protection shown in the following. This should be recorded the design location, the insulating device, the test lead, the test facility, the detail of the other special corrosion measure taken, result of the current requirements of the wear as made with the procedure of the native structural soil with the potential before it's complied. And result of the soil resistivity tests is the site where they are made in procedure. You have the name of the person conducting survey. 11144. The insulating corrosion control facility following should be recorded. And press current system locating with the data place. And with the survey, the type of the side of the depth of the backfill spacing of the AM specification of the rectifier, other survey energy. Survey the interference depth of the partial participating resolution of the interference of the problem galvanic anode system location dated place. And survey the number, the type of the size of the depth and the backfill spacing of the anodes and life of the part over the factory is installed system. Record survey inspections testing with the described 11.2.1 and 11.2.3 should be maintained with the demonstration of the applicable criteria. Cathodic protection has been satisfied. 11.4.6 maintained with the corrosion control facility of the following information should be recorded. Repair of the rectifiers other than DC power source for the repair replacement anode connection cables, maintenance, repair, replacement, coating, and installation of the device. Testing leads to other test facility records sufficient to demonstrate the need of the corrosive control measure of the retained as long with the facility involved with the remaining survey the records related with the effective of the cathodic protection should be retained for the period of 5 years in life of the shorter periodic specifically allowed by the regulation. Let's back out of this to Zoom page level. Click it, and then it shows your. This has been a reading of your Cathodic protection above ground petroleum storage tanks, API recommended practice 651, second edition, November 1997.